Close your eyes for a second. Now, try to remember your 7th birthday. Not just that it happened, actually remember it. The room, the smell, how you felt. Can you? What about your first day of school? Your childhood bedroom? A random Tuesday when you were 9 years old? For most people, these memories exist in fragments. Pieces of a story they know happened but can't quite feel. But for some of you watching this, there's nothing. Just silence, a void where years of your life should be. You look at photos of yourself as a child, and you're looking at a stranger. Your family tells stories about things you did, places you went. And you smile, you nod. But inside you feel nothing, because you weren't there. Or at least you don't remember being there. If that's you, if you have vast empty spaces where your childhood should be, this video will explain why. And I need to warn you, the answer is more disturbing than you think. Let's start with what's normal. Childhood amnesia, the inability to remember events before age 3 or 4, is universal. It happens because the hippocampus, the brain region responsible for forming explicit memories, isn't fully developed yet. This is normal. This is expected. This is not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is something else entirely. We're talking about people who are 25, 30, 40 years old and can't remember anything between the ages of 5 and 12, or 7 and 14, or sometimes anything at all before age 16. We're talking about blank spaces, years that simply don't exist in memory. This isn't forgetting where you put your keys. This isn't the normal fading of old memories. This is dissociative amnesia, and it's one of the most unsettling things the human mind can do to itself. Let me tell you what this actually looks like in real life. You're at a family gathering. Someone says, "Remember when we went to the lake that summer? You were so scared of the water." And you don't remember at all. They show you photos. You're there in the picture, maybe 8 years old, standing by the lake, smiling. But you have no memory of this moment, zero. It's like looking at someone else's vacation photos. Or maybe it's more subtle. Maybe you have some memories from childhood, but they feel distant, disconnected. Like you're watching them happen to someone else. Like you're viewing your own life through thick glass. Psychologists call this emotional amnesia. You remember the events, but you can't access the feelings. The experience is there, but you're not in it. And here's what makes this truly disturbing. Most people who experience this don't realize it's abnormal. They assume everyone's childhood memories are this vague, this fragmented, this emotionally flat. They don't know that other people can close their eyes and actually feel what it was like to be 7 years old. They don't know that most people have full, vivid, emotionally rich memories from age 5 or 6 onwards. So if you're watching this and thinking, wait, other people remember their childhood clearly? Like actually remember it? Yes, they do. And if you don't, there's a reason for that. So how does the brain just erase years of your life? Let's talk about how memory actually works. Because this is where things get fascinating and deeply unsettling. When you experience something, let's say your 9th birthday party, your brain doesn't save it like a video file. Instead, it creates a network of neural connections that, when activated, reconstruct the experience. Think of it like this: memory isn't storage, it's reconstruction. Every time you remember something, you're rebuilding it from scattered pieces. Now, What happens when the experience being encoded is traumatic, or chronically stressful, or emotionally overwhelming for a child's developing brain? Something very different happens. When you experience trauma, and I want to be clear, trauma doesn't always mean catastrophic events. It can mean chronic emotional neglect, instability, living in constant fear. Your brain enters survival mode. The prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for processing experiences into coherent narratives with context and timeline, basically goes offline. Instead, the amygdala, your threat detection center, takes over. The amygdala doesn't care about creating a nice, organized memory you can look back on fondly. It cares about survival, about detecting danger, about keeping you alive right now. So the experience gets encoded, but not as a story. It gets encoded as fragmented sensory data, a smell, a sound, a feeling in your body, intense emotions without context, physical sensations, tension, pain, numbness, behavioral responses, freeze, run, hide. But no coherent narrative, no timeline. No me at age 8 in this place with these people when this happened. This is called implicit memory versus explicit memory. Explicit memories are the ones you can consciously recall and describe. When I was 10, my family went to the zoo and I saw a giraffe. Implicit memories are stored in your body and nervous system. You don't remember the event, but you flinch when someone raises their voice. You avoid certain places without knowing why. You feel inexplicable anxiety in situations that seem harmless. Your body keeps the score, even when your conscious mind has no idea what game is being played. But here's where it gets even stranger. Sometimes, the brain doesn't just fail to properly encode traumatic memories. Sometimes it actively suppresses them, pushes them down, locks them away. This is called repression, and it's one of the most controversial topics in psychology. Sigmund Freud popularized this concept over a century ago. The idea that the mind protects itself by pushing unbearable memories into the unconscious. For decades, this was dismissed by many scientists as unscientific, unfalsifiable, possibly even dangerous. But modern neuroscience has given us a more complex picture. We now know that the brain has mechanisms for motivated forgetting, actively suppressing unwanted memories. Studies using fMRI have shown that when people are asked to not think about something, specific brain regions activate to inhibit memory retrieval. Your brain can literally shut down access to certain memories on purpose. And when this happens repeatedly, especially during childhood when the brain is still developing, entire years can become inaccessible. Not gone, just locked away, hidden from your conscious awareness. But why? Why would your brain do this to you? Here's what I need you to understand. If you have massive gaps in your childhood memory, your brain didn't fail you. It saved you. Let me explain what I mean. Imagine you're a child. Let's say you're 7 years old, and you're in a situation that's overwhelming. Maybe it's overt abuse. Maybe it's crushing emotional neglect. Maybe it's living with addiction, violence, or instability. Maybe it's something that doesn't even have a name. Just a constant grinding feeling of not being safe, not being seen, not mattering. You can't leave. You have no power. You have no resources. You're completely dependent on the very people or environment that's hurting you. So what do? You leave without leaving. This is dissociation. And it's one of the most sophisticated defense mechanisms the human brain possesses. When a child can't physically escape an unbearable situation, they escape mentally, psychologically. They disconnect from the experience while it's happening. It's like a part of you says, "This is too much. I'm gonna go away for a while. I'll put this somewhere safe, somewhere you won't have to feel it, and you can keep functioning." And it works. It genuinely works. Children in impossible situations continue going to school. They smile when they're supposed to. They function. They survive. Because a part of them isn't fully there. The psychiatric term for this is paratraumatic dissociation. Dissociating during the traumatic event itself. And what happens when you dissociate during an experience? That experience doesn't get encoded properly as a memory. Because you weren't fully present for it. You were elsewhere, watching from a distance. Numb, gone. Now imagine this doesn't happen once. Imagine it happens repeatedly. Daily, for years. That's how you lose your childhood. Not all at once, but piece by piece. Day by day, memory by memory. Each time you dissociated, you survived that moment. But you also lost it. And here's the truly unsettling part. This mechanism doesn't come with an off switch. Even when you grow up, even when you leave that situation, even when you're objectively safe, your brain learned that dissociation equals survival. So it keeps doing it. You might dissociate during stress, during conflict, during intimacy. During moments that should be meaningful or joyful, you find yourself not quite there, watching yourself from outside, feeling disconnected from your own life. And you don't even realize you're doing it, because it's been your normal for so long. But the memories, those are still there. Somewhere. Now I need to talk about something delicate, something controversial, something that has ruined lives when handled incorrectly. Memory recovery. In the 1980s and 90s, there was what some call a moral panic around repressed memories, particularly memories of childhood abuse. Therapists using techniques like hypnosis and guided imagery helped thousands of people recover memories of trauma they had supposedly repressed. Families were torn apart, people were prosecuted, lives were destroyed. And then, some of those memories turned out to be false. Not all of them, but some, maybe many. The human memory is not a video recorder. It's reconstructive, malleable, and highly susceptible to suggestion. Under the right conditions, leading questions, repeated visualization, social pressure, the brain can construct detailed, emotionally vivid memories of things that never happened. This created a massive backlash. The concept of repressed memory became controversial, even discredited in many circles. And this left people with genuine dissociative amnesia in an impossible position. Their real experiences were dismissed because false memories had been created in others. So let me be very clear about what the current science actually says. Dissociative amnesia is real. Repressed memories are real. Trauma-induced memory gaps are real and documented. But memory is also fragile, suggestible, unreliable. Both of these things can be true at the same time. So if you're someone who suspects you have repressed memories, if you have unexplained gaps and you're wondering what happened during those years, what should you do? First, be very, very careful about memory recovery techniques. Hypnosis, guided visualization, insistent questioning. These can create false memories just as easily as they can recover real ones. What you need is not memory recovery. What you need is trauma processing. Let me explain the difference. Memory recovery assumes the goal is to dig up buried events and bring them into consciousness, to know exactly what happened, when, with who. Trauma processing assumes that your body and nervous system are carrying the impact of those experiences, whether you consciously remember them or not. And the goal is to heal that impact, not necessarily to recover every detail. You don't need to have a complete movie of your childhood to heal from it. You can recognize something difficult happened. My memory gaps and my current symptoms tell me that. I don't need to know every detail to do the work of healing. This is what trauma-informed therapy looks like. Approaches like EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, work with the implicit memories your body holds without necessarily bringing traumatic content into full conscious awareness. Somatic therapies work with the physical sensations, the nervous system dysregulation, the stored tension in your body. Internal family systems helps you work with the parts of yourself that may have split off to protect you, without forcing them to reveal what they're protecting you from. The goal isn't to unearth every buried memory. The goal is to help your nervous system learn that the danger has passed, to integrate the dissociated parts, to feel safe in your body again. Because here's the truth. Whether or not you ever recover explicit memories of what happened to you, your body knows, your nervous system knows, your behavioral patterns know. You flinch at raised voices for a reason. You avoid conflict for a reason. You dissociate during intimacy for a reason. You can't remember your childhood for a reason. You don't need perfect memory to validate your experience. The evidence is written in how you move through the world. There's a particular kind of grief that comes with not knowing your own story. Everyone else gets to have a coherent narrative of their life, a sense of continuity. This is who I was, this is how I became who I am. But you have chapters missing. Critical chapters. Formative years that shaped you in ways you can't even understand. Because you weren't conscious enough to remember them. It's like being the protagonist of a book where someone tore out pages 20 through 100. You can see the effect. The character has clearly changed, clearly experienced something. But you don't know what, and you're that character. This uncertainty can be maddening, devastating. You might spend years searching for answers. Asking family members who give vague or contradictory responses, looking at old photos like they're evidence at a crime scene, waiting for memories to suddenly resurface like they do in movies. And for some people, memories do eventually surface. Usually not all at once. Usually in fragments, triggered by something, a smell, a place, a feeling in your body. And when they come, they often come with intense emotion. Grief, rage, terror, shame that seems disproportionate until you realize you're not feeling this now. You're feeling what you couldn't let yourself feel then. But for many people, the memories never fully return. The blanks remain blank. The questions remain unanswered. And at some point, you have to make a choice. You can spend your life excavating the past, trying to recover what was lost, living in that uncertainty and grief. Or you can choose to build a life from here, from now. with the pieces you have. This doesn't mean giving up on healing. It means recognizing that healing doesn't require having all the answers. You can grieve the childhood you can't remember. You can honor what that child went through, even without knowing the details. You can do the work of retraining your nervous system, integrating dissociated parts, learning to feel safe in your body, all without ever recovering a complete memory of what happened. Your worth isn't dependent on remembering. Your healing isn't dependent on knowing every detail. Your life doesn't have to remain on hold until the missing pieces are found. Because here's what I've learned from talking to people who've walked this path. At a certain point, the question changes. It stops being what happened to me and becomes, who do I want to become from here? It stops being why can't I remember and becomes, how do I want to live now? If you're watching this and recognizing yourself in these descriptions, if you've spent years feeling confused about why your childhood is a void, if you've wondered if something is wrong with you because you can't remember what everyone else seems to remember easily, let me tell you what I wish someone had told me sooner. Nothing is wrong with you. Your brain did exactly what it needed to do to keep you functional during a time when you had no other options. The amnesia, the dissociation, the emotional disconnection, these weren't failures. They were adaptations, survival strategies of a child who was doing their best with the tools they had. You are not broken. You are not damaged beyond repair. You survived something that required you to fragment yourself, to disappear from your own experience, to erase your own history. And you're still here, still trying to understand, still reaching for healing. That's not weakness, that's incredible strength. The path forward isn't about recovering every lost memory. It's about integration. About bringing those dissociated parts back home. About learning, finally, that it's safe to be fully present in your own life. If you need help with this, find a trauma-informed therapist. Specifically, someone trained in complex PTSD, dissociation, or developmental trauma. Not every therapist understands this. Many will minimize what you're describing, or push you to just move forward, without addressing the underlying nervous system dysregulation. You deserve someone who gets it. Your childhood may be a mystery. The missing years may never fully return. But your future doesn't have to be written by your past. You can heal from something you don't fully remember. You can integrate what was split apart. You can build a coherent sense of self, even with gaps in your story. The blank spaces in your memory don't define you. What defines you is what you do from here. You are more than your memories. You are more than what you've forgotten. You are here now, and that's enough.